Whoop Band 4.0 or a Garmin? Which one is the way to go? Which one's right for you? That's what we're going to talk about today. Oh man, check out that watch tan. That's getting pretty legit. Whew. Well, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dave from Chase the Summit, and in this video, I want to do a quick comparison between the Garmin Forerunner 955 and some of its new features, mainly the training readiness and HRV status function, and how this new information on these new features compare to the Whoop Band 4.0. If you're unaware, the Garmin Forerunner 955 came out a few weeks ago, and when it came out, it also came with a couple of new features that weren't previously seen on any other Garmin. That is this new training readiness and HRV status function that try to give you an idea of how you're recovering from the previous day of activities and how much training you should take on the following day. This is really useful information, and right now it's only available on the Garmin Forerunner 955 and 255. However, it is coming to a bunch of other Garmin devices like the Garmin Fenix 7, the Epix Gen 2, probably the Enduro 2, and more. But this will come down the road in additional firmware updates. Now, the Whoop Band 4.0 is a different kind of device. This is basically just a heart rate sensor that ties into an app on your phone to try to give you an idea of your recovery and training from previous days. And both of these platforms are trying to do a similar thing in a different way. And in this video, I just want to compare side by side what the information looks like so you can get an idea of what to expect if you invest in either a Garmin or the Whoop Band 4.0. Now, before I get out the laptop and start comparing data, keep in mind that I am not a doctor or a scientist. I really have no way of proving which one's more accurate in terms of sleep and recovery and things like that. All I can do is compare the information side by side and let you know what I think about each one. I also want to mention that this is merely a comparison video to show you what to expect from both of these devices side by side, to show you how useful they might be. But again, I have no way to prove how accurate they are, and I'm not going to try to dive too deep on which one might be right. And before we dive into the laptop and all of the raw data, I do want to remind you that if you do find this video helpful or fun or anything, to please consider hitting that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel down below, because it really helps me out. Also, if you're planning on picking up a new Garmin or the Whoop Band 4.0, check out the links in the description down below. That does help support the channel, and it costs nothing extra to you. And on the Whoop Band in particular, I've got a pretty sweet discount that you can get by using the link in the description down below. And with that long-winded intro out of the way, let's go ahead and crack open the laptop to compare some of this data side by side. Okay, so what you're looking at here is Garmin Connect on the left and the Whoop website on the right here, and both are displaying some of my data. The page I'm looking at on Garmin Connect on the left is actually this little daily summary dashboard that gives you all of your daily wellness information. So if I scroll down here on Garmin Connect, you can see I've got my training status, my training readiness, my HRV status, my steps for the day, intensity in minutes, calories in and out, and the list goes on and on. On the right, on the Whoop Band 4.0, we're looking at the Whoop dashboard. That gives me my daily stats. It shows my sleep from the previous night, my heart rate for the day so far, my strain and recovery so far as well. So at a glance on both platforms, there's a ton of information presented to you. I do like on the Whoop Band website here that at the top, I've got a quick overview of my strain and recovery for the day, along with my sleep performance from the previous night. The first thing I want to look at here is scrolling down to training readiness on Garmin Connect and clicking on view details. So this will give me even more information. So this training readiness function basically tries to give you a holistic view, taking a bunch of things into account to try to give you an idea of how ready you are for more training. So if I scroll down here, it shows that my training readiness is low right now. I've got a 41 out of 100. It shows me that I have a little suggestion here. It says find time to relax, that poor sleep has reduced my training readiness. The reason why it says this is because last night, my son, my 4-year-old, actually got into bed with us. He had a nightmare, woke us up at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were up a little bit early. So I didn't get a ton of sleep last night, not a real great night of sleep. And Garmin actually recognized this and suggests that I take some time to relax today. But below that, it shows me all the factors that play a role in that score. That is the sleep score from the previous night, which is poor, like I said. Then I've got my recovery time here from running from yesterday. I still have 20 hours to recover from that. I've got my HRV status, my acute load, my sleep history, so multiple days of sleep, and then at the bottom here, we've got stress history. Now, if we turn to the Whoop platform and we try to compare the information I'm getting here to training readiness, you can see that I'm getting similar information. So you can see that today, I've got a low strain score because I haven't really done anything today. I woke up a little while ago, I had breakfast, fed the kids and stuff, and then I came here, and here I am. So I've got a low strain score of 4.7 so far today. And if I go over and click on recovery here, you can see that my recovery is only at 44%. And below that recovery score of 44%, there's also a little blurb here that just spells out in plain English why that recovery score is so low. It says your resting heart rate at 64 beats per minute is 8.5% above its typical range, indicating that your body is moderately recovered. And then below that, we have a little graph here that shows where my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, and my sleep performance is today as compared to yesterday. And then over on the left side of the page on the Whoop website, you can see that there's HRV, resting heart rate, and sleep, and there's a little arrow that's next to those numbers to indicate if they're going up or going down, and they're red or green, letting me know if that's good or bad. So generally speaking, judging by the training readiness on Garmin Connect and the Whoop Band's recovery tab, I feel like both websites are trying to give me similar information to take it easy today. Going back to Garmin Connect here, you can see that below training readiness, we also have a new feature called HRV status. And HRV status is trying to take your heart rate variability from multiple days, and then it gives you an idea if you're balanced or unbalanced. And if you're balanced, it means you have a stable HRV every day for multiple days in a row. And if you're unbalanced, it means your HRV is kind of all over the place. That can indicate something like illness coming on, overtraining, or even just having too many drinks the night before. Alcohol, that is. So on HRV status, if I click view more details here, you can see that it gives me a little blurb about what this actually means. And then below that, there's a little graph to show me my HRV over time. But what's really cool about HRV status on Garmin Connect is if I click this little report icon up here, I can actually get more details about my HRV. And I can go back all the way 4 weeks and see how my trends have been over time. So you can see back in July here, I actually ran an ultra marathon at the end of July, and you can see that my HRV became unbalanced for a little while there, and as it recovered, it got better and better, and right now it's pretty good. Now on the Whoop website, we can actually do a similar thing. If I click on HRV, and then I go ahead and click on 1 week here for the timeline, you can see a graph for the past 7 days, just like we see on Garmin Connect. However, I do notice something weird here. On the Whoop Band HRV, you can see that my HRV was 41, 49, 50, 58, and 41. But on Garmin Connect, you see 44, 46, 46, 46, 45. So my HRV appears to be way more consistent on Garmin Connect, and on the Whoop side of things, it seems way less balanced and inconsistent, and I don't know why. Unfortunately, I don't have a scientific way of measuring my HRV, so I'm just going off of what these two platforms actually tell me. That said, the numbers do seem pretty similar. I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs between 49 and 50 milliseconds when it comes to HRV, and we're going off of an optical heart rate sensor on the back of both of these devices, so they're probably not going to be perfect, but it is weird that Garmin Connect is more balanced and kind of seems to be more of a arced sweep, where on the Whoop Band, it's kind of jumping up and down all over the place. So I don't know which one's more accurate. This is just a data point for you to see and kind of make your own opinions. Going back to the Whoop Band website here, I jump back to the overview page, and I really like this view on the overview page. You can see here the past 7 days of my strain and recovery over time. And what's really cool about this is the blue line at the bottom here represents my strain. So you can see here 8.4, that was the day I ran. Another day I ran was 6.7 here, and then 7.6 was yesterday. I went for like a 5-mile run. But above that, these yellow and green dots indicate my recovery from the previous day. So you can see that I wasn't fully recovered for 3 days in a row. Then I got a really good night of sleep here, and it went up to 74% and turned green, indicating that I got good recovery. Then it went back to yellow because I went on a run that day and I didn't get good sleep again, and then it went back to green again. So you can see I'm kind of balancing my recovery and strain throughout multiple days. This view can give you a really good idea of your training over time and how you're recovering. If you have multiple days of being in the yellow or even in the red, you know you need to take a rest day, pump the brakes a little bit, and then see if you can bounce back from that that deficit. And finally, I just want to compare one night of sleep data between these two devices so you can see what to expect if you buy either one. So on the left here, again, is Garmin Connect. It's showing me that I got 9 hours and 11 minutes of sleep. This is not last night, a couple of days ago, to give you an idea of a good night of sleep. And that I've got 1 hour and 36 minutes of deep sleep, 5 hours and 48 minutes of light sleep, an hour and 47 minutes of REM sleep, and 1 minute of being awake. And now on the right side of the screen, we're looking at that same night of sleep on the Whoop system to see how it compares. So you can see right off the bat, in terms of overall sleep, these two line up pretty favorably. So on the Garmin Connect site, you can see 9 hours and 11 minutes. On Whoop Band, I got 9 hours and 14 minutes. That's kind of splitting hairs. It's pretty good. Now, if we go down to the bottom here, you can see on Whoop Band, I got 4 hours in light sleep. That isn't really that comparable to Garmin's 5 hours and 48 minutes. We got 2 hours and 37 minutes on the Whoop Band in REM sleep, and then an hour and 47 on Garmin, and then 1 minute of being awake compared to 31 minutes of being awake. So in terms of overall sleep, these two line up pretty favorably, but when it comes to the sleep stages, they're both pretty different. There is one really cool feature about the Whoop Band that I really like, and if you look at the top right of your screen here, you can see that it shows me my hours of sleep for the night, but it also shows me how much sleep I actually needed. This is super handy to know, like, if you're trying to hit a target, to set your alarm for a certain time of day so you know you can get the most out of your sleep. Unfortunately, this function of sleep needed does not exist on the Garmin Connect platform yet. Maybe it's something they could develop down the road. All right, I think that's all the data I wanted to show you. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is not an in-depth review on either one of these devices. I just want to show you some of the information that they give you side by side so you can kind of make your own opinion about which one might be right for you. And at the end of the day, both of these devices do give you a lot of insight on your strain and recovery and how you're sleeping and all of that information on a daily basis, and both are really useful. One thing to keep in mind though is the price. The Whoop Band 4.0 does come in with a subscription model, so you're gonna pay up to $30 a month, depending on the package you choose, to keep this thing on your wrist and get data from it. Where on Garmin, it's a one-time purchase. There's no monthly fee or anything like that, but the device is much more money. This Garmin Forerunner 955 comes in at $499, but there are other devices like the Forerunner 255 that come in a bit cheaper, still more expensive than a Whoop Band, but again, there's no subscription or monthly fee, so you got to take that into consideration. And as for which one's better, there really isn't a better here. Both provide really good information for sleep and recovery, but another thing to keep in mind is that these Garmin watches are also full-blown fitness trackers. They've got displays on them where they can give you the time of day, read your notifications and text messages, and you can also take them for a run and use the built-in GPS functions to do that. Where on the Whoop Band, you're basically just getting a heart rate sensor that ties into the Whoop ecosystem for strain and recovery and sleep information. Anyways, that's really it for this quick video. Just a quick comparison of the information you get from both the Garmin platform and the Whoop platform when it comes to HRV, training readiness and status and all that information and how they compare side by side. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, please consider hitting that thumbs up and subscribing down below because that does really help me out. And check out the links in the description down below if you want a discount on the Whoop Band 4.0 or if you're planning to pick up a Garmin Forerunner 955 or any Garmin for that matter. That's really all I've got for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.